She won't tell you this out loud, but the right questions can lower walls faster than charm ever could. Ask the wrong ones, and she feels interrogated. Ask the right ones, and she feels understood before she even knows why. I'm going to speak to you like a mentor, not to impress you, but to protect you from wasting years chasing signals that never turn into connection. Most men think intimacy is created by attraction, timing, or confidence. Those things help, but they're not the engine. Intimacy is created when a woman feels emotionally safe enough to reveal something real, and safety is built through how you ask, how you listen, and what you do with what she gives you. The mistake I see again and again is men asking surface questions and expecting deep reactions. What do you do? Where are you from? What music do you like? Those questions collect data, but they don't create closeness. They keep her polite, not present. A woman doesn't lean in when she feels surveyed. She leans in when she feels seen. The questions that open intimacy are not clever lines. They are invitations. They signal that you are curious about her inner world, not just her availability. When you ask a woman a question that allows her to talk about meaning, values, or emotion, something subtle happens inside her. Her nervous system relaxes. Her guard lowers. She begins to associate you with comfort and depth instead of pressure. Here's the truth most men miss. It's not the question itself that creates intimacy, it's the emotional door behind it. For example, asking, "What are you passionate about?" is fine, but it's generic. Asking, "What's something you care deeply about that most people don't notice?" does something different. It tells her you expect depth from her, and people often rise to the expectations placed on them. Women are wired to bond through emotional disclosure. When she shares something personal and you respond with presence instead of judgment, her brain releases trust-building chemicals. This is biology, not manipulation. You are not forcing intimacy. You are allowing it to happen by not rushing, not fixing, and not performing. Another critical mistake is asking intimate questions too early or with the wrong energy. If your tone is needy, playful but shallow, or secretly sexual, she will feel it instantly. Intimacy grows when questions are grounded, calm, and patient. Think of your questions as slow keys, not crowbars. You are not breaking into her world. You are being invited. There is also a question behind every question you ask. If the unspoken message is, "Do you like me?" she will feel pressure. If the unspoken message is, "I'm genuinely interested in understanding you," she will feel safe. Women respond less to words and more to intention. When a woman begins to open up, many men sabotage the moment by talking about themselves too soon. Intimacy deepens when you let silence work for you. When she finishes a thought, don't rush to fill the space. That pause tells her you're actually listening, not waiting to speak. Understand this clearly. The goal is not to make her intimate with you. The goal is to create an environment where intimacy feels natural, mutual, and unforced. When a woman feels that with you, attraction doesn't need to be chased. It grows quietly, and then suddenly you feel it everywhere. That is where connection stops being effort and starts becoming something deeply magnetic. The questions that deepen intimacy are not about extracting secrets. They're about giving her permission to tell the truth she rarely gets to share. Most women walk through the world being reacted to, evaluated, desired, or dismissed. Very few are truly listened to. When you become the man who listens without agenda, something shifts in how she feels around you. One of the most powerful questions you can ask is rooted in experience, not fantasy. Instead of asking what she wants someday, ask about what she's lived. A question like, "What's something that changed the way you see relationships?" invites reflection. It doesn't demand vulnerability, but it allows it. If she chooses to go deeper, that choice belongs to her, and that autonomy makes the sharing feel safe. When she answers, your response matters more than your next question. Avoid advice. Avoid comparisons. Avoid turning her story into a lesson about you. Simply acknowledge what she felt. You can say things like, "That sounds like it stayed with you," or "I can understand why that mattered to you." These responses validate her emotional reality without trying to control it. Another doorway into intimacy is asking about boundaries. This might sound counterintuitive, but respectful curiosity is deeply attractive. A question like, "What helps you feel comfortable with someone?" does not feel invasive when asked calmly. It signals emotional intelligence. It tells her you care about how she feels, not just how fast things progress. Women become intimate with men who make them feel emotionally held, not emotionally pushed. When you ask questions that honor her pace, she subconsciously associates you with relief instead of tension. That relief becomes closeness. You can also ask questions that reveal how she experiences connection. For example, when do you feel closest to someone? This allows her to describe the conditions under which intimacy naturally forms for her. Pay attention here. She is quietly telling you how to treat her, how to communicate with her, and how to bond with her without you ever having to guess. Many men try to impress at this stage. They think attraction grows through stories of success, strength, or dominance. But intimacy grows through emotional presence. If she shares something difficult and you don't flinch, don't minimize it, and don't rush past it, you become someone she can relax around. Relaxation is intimacy's foundation. There is also power in asking reflective follow-up questions, but only when they come from curiosity, not strategy. If she says she values honesty, you might ask, "What does honesty look like to you when it's done right?" That question tells her you care about her definition, not just your own. One thing to understand deeply is that intimacy is not built by intensity alone. It's built by consistency. When your questions, tone, and reactions stay grounded over time, her nervous system begins to trust that you are predictable in a good way. That predictability feels safe. Safety allows desire to breathe. If she hesitates before answering, don't rush her. That pause often means she's deciding whether it's safe to be real. If you stay calm and present, you're answering that question for her without saying a word. The men women open up to are not always the most exciting at first glance. They are the ones who don't rush to define, label, or possess. They let connection unfold. When your questions reflect patience and respect, intimacy doesn't feel like a step forward. It feels like coming home. As intimacy begins to form, the questions that matter most are the ones that touch emotion without triggering defense. This is where many men either deepen the bond or unknowingly shut it down. The difference is subtle, but it's everything. You are no longer just learning about her life. You are learning about her emotional patterns. One of the most revealing questions you can ask is about emotional safety itself. A calm, grounded question like, "What makes you feel emotionally safe with someone?" is powerful because it centers her feelings rather than your intentions. You're not asking for reassurance, you're asking for understanding. When she answers, she is giving you a blueprint for closeness. Listen closely to how she describes safety. Some women talk about consistency, others talk about honesty. Some mention patience, humor, or feeling accepted without having to perform. None of these answers are random. They reflect past experiences, both positive and painful. When you remember what she says and align your behavior with it, intimacy deepens naturally. Another doorway is asking about growth instead of perfection. Many women feel pressure to appear put together. When you ask something like, "What's something you've learned about yourself over the years?" you give her space to be human. That question doesn't invite trauma dumping. It invites self-awareness. It tells her you respect evolution, not flawlessness. If she shares something she's still working through, your role is not to solve it. Your role is to stay present. Presence is rare. Most people listen just long enough to respond. When you listen long enough to understand, she feels it. And when she feels it, she bonds. You can also ask questions that explore how she handles connection during difficulty. For example, when life gets heavy, what helps you feel supported? This question signals maturity. It tells her you are thinking beyond good days and into real life. Women who sense that kind of foresight feel safer opening up emotionally. At this stage, Your body language and tone are just as important as your words. Leaning in slightly, maintaining relaxed eye contact, and speaking calmly all reinforce the message that she is not being judged. Intimacy collapses when a woman feels analyzed. It grows when she feels accepted. Be careful not to confuse emotional depth with emotional intensity. You don't need dramatic stories or heavy confessions to build closeness. Sometimes the most intimate moments come from simple truths spoken without fear. A quiet admission, a thoughtful pause, a shared laugh after something honest. These moments linger. Another powerful question centers around values, asking, "What do you value most in your close relationships?" invites her to articulate what truly matters to her. Values are the emotional compass of intimacy. When your actions align with her values, trust grows faster than attraction ever could. Understand this clearly. Intimacy is not something you create in her. It is something you create with her. Your questions are not tools to control emotion. They are bridges that allow two inner worlds to meet. When she senses that you are walking beside her rather than trying to lead or impress, she relaxes into the connection. The men who reach this level of closeness are not the loudest, the flashiest, or the most aggressive. They are the ones who are comfortable with emotional depth without needing to dominate it. When your questions reflect that comfort, intimacy stops being something you pursue and becomes something she willingly shares. When intimacy is already present, the questions that matter most are the ones that sustain it rather than accelerate it. This is where trust either stabilizes or slowly erodes. Many men think once emotional closeness appears, it will maintain itself. It won't. Intimacy is not fragile, but it is responsive. It grows when it's cared for. One of the most grounding questions you can ask at this stage is simple but rare. How are you really feeling lately? Not in a rushed way, not as a formality. Asked with patience, this question communicates emotional availability. It tells her you are attuned not just to moments of connection, but to her ongoing inner world. When she answers, resist the urge to interpret or fix. If she says she's tired, overwhelmed, or unsure, your calm acceptance creates more closeness than any solution ever could. Many women feel intimacy fade when they sense they must manage a man's reaction to their honesty. When you remain steady, she feels free. Another powerful area to explore is emotional needs, but only through curiosity, never demand. A question like, "What helps you feel appreciated?" is intimate because it invites her to express desire without feeling needy. Appreciation is one of the strongest emotional bonds. When she feels seen for who she is, not just what she gives, intimacy deepens. You can also ask reflective questions about the connection itself, without pressure or expectation. For example, what do you enjoy most about being close to someone? This allows her to express what intimacy feels like for her, rather than what she thinks it should look like. It keeps the connection alive without forcing it forward. At this stage, consistency matters more than intensity. If your questions, tone, and behavior remain aligned over time, she learns that closeness with you is safe and stable. Stability is deeply attractive, especially in a world that feels unpredictable. Many women associate intimacy with emotional volatility because of past experiences. When you are calm and present, you rewrite that association. There is also intimacy in asking about emotional limits. A respectful question like, "What drains you emotionally?" shows awareness and care. It tells her you are thinking about her energy, not just your own desires. When a woman feels her emotional well-being is considered, trust strengthens. Pay attention to how she responds to these questions. If she opens up more, slow down. If she becomes quieter, give space without withdrawing. Intimacy thrives when it is flexible. Pressure kills it. Patience protects it. Another mistake men make here is over-validating. Agreement is not the same as understanding. You don't need to echo everything she says. You need to show you comprehend it. A thoughtful acknowledgement often feels more genuine than excessive reassurance. At this level, intimacy is no longer about discovery alone. It's about maintenance. It's about showing through repeated actions that your curiosity about her hasn't faded now that closeness exists. When a woman senses that your interest in her inner world is consistent, not situational, she feels valued beyond the moment. The strongest emotional bonds are formed with men who don't take intimacy for granted. They continue to ask, listen, and adapt. Not because they fear losing her, but because they genuinely care about understanding her. That care is felt, and when it's felt, intimacy doesn't just remain, it deepens. The deepest level of intimacy is reached when your questions stop being about learning her and start being about honoring her. This is where emotional closeness becomes mutual, grounded, and quietly powerful. At this stage, a woman is not opening up because she's curious about you anymore. She's opening up because she trusts who you are when she does. One of the most intimate questions you can ask is about alignment. A question like, what kind of connection feels right to you at this point in your life, is not a trap, and it's not a demand. It communicates emotional maturity. It tells her you respect timing, growth, and reality. Women feel intimacy with men who don't rush them into definitions, but are brave enough to talk about direction. When she answers, listen for emotion, not just content. She may speak about freedom, stability, excitement, or peace. Those words are not casual. They reflect what her nervous system is craving. When your presence aligns with that craving, intimacy strengthens without effort. Another powerful question explores emotional honesty. Asking, what helps you be yourself around someone, removes performance from the equation. It tells her you are not asking her to impress you. You are asking her to be real. Authenticity is one of the strongest foundations of intimacy, and women feel closest to the men who invite it instead of demanding it. At this level, intimacy also grows through shared reflection. You can ask, what do you think makes a connection last? This is not about testing her beliefs. It's about understanding how she perceives durability, commitment, and emotional responsibility. Her answer reveals what she protects and what she fears losing. There is also intimacy in asking about joy. Many men focus only on pain, growth, and struggle. But joy is equally revealing. A question like, what moments make you feel most alive, allows her to associate you with positive emotion, not just depth. Intimacy is not only built in seriousness, it's built in shared warmth. As intimacy deepens, remember this: your questions should never feel like steps in a strategy. The moment she senses calculation, the emotional bond weakens. Intimacy thrives in sincerity. Ask because you care, not because you expect a result. One of the final signs of real intimacy is when silence becomes comfortable. You don't always need to ask. Sometimes your presence is enough. When a woman feels she doesn't have to fill space or perform emotionally, she feels safe. Safety is what allows desire, closeness, and connection to coexist. The men women become most intimate with are not perfect communicators. They are consistent ones. They ask thoughtful questions, listen without defense, and respond without ego. Over time, those qualities create a bond that feels rare. Now let me leave you with something personal to reflect on. If you asked her one question tonight that showed you truly wanted to understand her, not impress her, not rush her, not control the outcome, what would that question be? Write your answer in the comments. If this video helped you see connection differently, like it, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this right now.